I have no father or mother since I was a child. The widow at the entrance of the village died of her son, so I ran to ask her if she wanted to be my mother. The rough man at the end of the village was strong in chopping wood, so I asked him if he wanted to be my father. We became a family. 1. The person I envy the most in the whole village is Lu Xiaohua. Her mother is very gentle, and will sit at the door and tie her pigtails. Her father can make money, and will buy her sweet candy. Every time she went out, I approached her, hoping that she would be willing to play with me. If you play well, she will often take me home, and when the time comes, Uncle Lu will definitely keep me for dinner, and I will be able to see what my parents are like. It's a pity that Lu Xiaohua doesn't like me. She pointed to my pants in disgust. Your clothes even have holes in your buttocks, so I don't want to be friends with someone like you. I don't bury it, my clothes are washed very clean. But I can't help it if I break the hole. I only have a little money, and I have to use it to buy corn. Cloth is too expensive, I still need to save it. But it's okay if it's not as good as Uncle Lu and Aunt Tian, as long as it's parents. I went to find other friends again. Dahu snorted with his black fingers and said, "It's not that I don't take you," my mother said, "my family has no money. If I dare to take someone home for dinner, she will deduct my cloud cake. I can only eat 3 times a year, but I can't deduct it anymore." Arya also shook her head. My family's food is in my brother's mouth, and I can't eat enough myself. Well, it turns out that Lu Xiaohua can invite people home for dinner, or because her father can make money. 2. God is still very good to me. Lu Xiaohua's family is not short of children, and widow Yu at the head of the village is missing. It was too hot in the summer, and her son jumped into the river to cool off, and when he fished it up, it was completely cold. Widow Yu cried and fainted several times, and even her face turned gray from crying. There was a broken mouth and muttered privately, "Alas, you can't cry to death, the man has just left for 2 years, and his son is gone. Without a son, none of the houses and lands can be kept. So if she gives birth to 2, there will be 1 left." I understood, she lacked children. Then I lack a mother, isn't this just right? I covered the hole in my buttocks with my hands, followed Lu Xiaohua's to pigtails, stood in front of Widow Yu and asked, "Auntie, your son is gone, can I be your daughter?" The pale woman looked up at me, her face full of anger. "My son is gone. My son is gone, and it's not your turn to laugh at me. My son can support me in the future, what can you do with this girl?" I don't know why she was angry. Anyway, people in this village often scold me for having no father, no mother, and no one to teach me. I'm used to it. But after scolding, seeing that I was so hungry, the East would still feed me a bite, and the West would feed me 2 spoonfuls. Widow Yu has also fed me before, and it is delicious. The village chief's uncle came in and led me out, looked at me and sighed, "You, this reckless temperament and unguarded mouth, I don't know who he looks like." Alas, I don't know who I look like. People in the village said that I was brought by an old uncle, who was very old and raised me until I was 3 years old, and he died of illness. He bought the house I live in now, and the village can't drive me away. I'm a female doll, and no one wants it to be adopted. I grew up eating hundreds of meals. I have a little impression of that old uncle. His grave is in the back mountain, and every year during the festival, I will steal a little incense candle to kowtow to him. How good it would be if he was alive, so that at least I have a grandfather. 3. But it doesn't matter, now I have the opportunity to find myself a mother. Widow Yu said that her son could support her, and so could I. I'm older, 7 years old, and there are fewer people in the village who are willing to continue feeding me, and sometimes the landlord of the next village recruits workers, and the village chief's uncle will mix me in. This time I followed again, and after I planted seedlings for 5 days, I wanted to find Widow Yu with 20 cents, only to find that her home was occupied. Lu Ernia nibbled on the chicken leg and came out to open the door, and said happily, "Are you looking for my second aunt?" She was moved to a house at the end of the village. My mother said that in the future, her house and fields will belong to my family. Mother also stewed a chicken to celebrate. "Xiao Luer, are you hungry?" I'll steal one for you. I swallowed, chicken. But I rushed to see my future mother, shook my head, pulled my legs and ran to the end of the village. I know that house is dilapidated and small, and no one has lived in it before. Aunt Tian saw that I was going, waved to stop me, handed me a bamboo basket and said, "Shaolua, are you going to find Aunt Yu? Be good, I have something to do, can you help me carry this basket of rice to her?" Alas, the evil deed, after all, it is my brother's daughter-in-law, who has taken over other people's fields and houses, and is unwilling to give even a few meals. In Aunt Tian's muttering, I knew that in the village, if a woman's husband and son are gone, the rest of the family property is not hers, but belongs to the clan, and it is divided into her husband's living relatives. Widow Yu's husband's surname is Lu, and he is a big surname in the village, just like Lu Xiaohua's Lu. Her family wealth was given to Lu Ernia's family, so she could only live in the dilapidated house at the end of the village. In the future, Lu Ernia's family only needs to give her dozens of caddies of food every year to prevent her from starving to death. But Aunt Tian said that Widow Yu was too sad, she would not cook her own food if she had food, and if no one delivered food, she would starve herself to death. Aunt Tian is a good person, although she didn't take a thread from Widow Yu's house, she was still willing to send a portion of the family's meal to the end of the village. I walked into the thatched house that was more dilapidated than mine with the basket, and Widow Yu was lying on the dirty bed, not even looking at me. I took out the soup that Aunt Tian stewed for her, boiled it with bones, and there was oil floating on it, which was fragrant. But Widow Yu still didn't even raise her eyes. She seemed to be stupid, I called her, she didn't respond, but I put the spoon to her mouth, and if I scolded her a few more times, she would open her mouth and swallow it. Fools are good at deceiving. I jumped up to her ear and asked, "Aunt Yu, can you be my mother?" This time she didn't scold me, she just didn't speak. I asked a second time, but she still didn't speak. The third time, I learned to be smart, so I changed my question, "Aunt Yu, can you be my mother? If you don't speak, I'll treat you as agree." 4. Hey, she didn't speak. I found a broken board, put the hot mother on it, and dragged it home with all my strength, dragged it for a while, and after a quarter of an hour, I had a mother at home. Although this mother doesn't speak, she has to feed for a long time. But in the future, when I go out, there will be people to worry about, and when I get home, there are still people panting next to me. Especially at night, when she fell asleep, I secretly touched the flesh on her arm, clinging to her, and she wouldn't push me away. In those days, even if I took a pair of chopsticks, I had to ask her, "Mother, which pair do you like? Mother, is it the middle pair? Mother, is it on the left? Oh, I know, Mother, you like the one on the right." I want to call my mother enough. It's a pity that there are only 3 pairs of chopsticks at home, and you can only call 4 times at a time. She ignored me all the time, allowing me to jump up and down to cook, wash, wipe her body with water, and lie there as if she was going to lie down for the rest of her life. Until one day I picked a handful of red dates from the village chief's uncle's house. Red dates are a good thing to replenish qi and blood, her lips are white, I want to make up for her. But she looked at the bowl of steamed red dates and spoke to me for the first time. "Where did these dates come from?" I heard Aunt Tian say when she was educating Lu Xiaohua that children can't lie to their mother, so she said with a smile, "The village chief's uncle was drying in the yard, so I secretly caught it." With a snap, she knocked off the bowl in my hand. It's been 3 months, and the sky has gone from summer to winter, and she finally has a little vitality. Ignoring the expensive dates, I jumped next to her excitedly, "Mother, are you willing to pay attention to me?" Not only did she pay attention to me, but she also stood up from the bed on her own, looking around the house for something, then picked up a bamboo pole at the door and hit me on the buttocks. Someone hit me, and habitually, I jumped to a place where there were many people outside, and when I reacted, my mother also followed. After not basking in the sun for too long, she squinted before lifting the bamboo pole and continued to pump my ass. Aunt Tian's house is close to my house, and when she heard the movement, she came out with the clothes she was going to dry, and when she saw her mother, she first shouted in surprise, "Sister Yu, are you willing to go out?" Looking at what my mother was doing again, she quickly stopped. Sister, you calm down. Just because this child has taken care of you for so long, if she says something that doesn't listen to you, don't take it to heart. Alas, even Aunt Tion knows that I can't speak, but how do I learn to speak well? After last time, I already knew that I shouldn't have died her son before my mother, so what did I say this time to make my mother sad? I looked at my mother inquiringly. She hadn't moved for too long, and she was already out of breath after hitting me twice. I saw that she was a little stiff, but she still raised the corners of her mouth and said to Aunt Tion, Sister Tion, thank you for the food you sent before. This kid is too skinny, no matter what. My eyes lit up. She wants to take care of me. 5. She really took care of me, took my ear and went home, sat down and gasped and asked me, it's wrong to steal something, you know. I shook my head. I really don't know. I was so hungry that most of the people in the village went to steal a few vegetables and sweet potatoes. Only a few people will scold me, and I won't go to those people again. But no one else scolded me, especially the village chief, who sometimes saw it, and would put an egg in my hand. After my mother heard what I said, she sighed, yes, you have stolen it from my house, who cares about a child without a father or mother? She solemnly said, but it's different from now on, if you want to be my daughter, you are not allowed to steal anymore, understand? I nodded vigorously, I understand, mother, I can understand whatever you say in the future. As long as she is willing to be my mother, I will listen to her when she says that the toilet is fragrant. Seeing me nodding, her face was a little more satisfied, and she asked me, where is the rice at home? I pointed to the kitchen, where there was corn dragged from the broken house. My mother went in and scooped a full bowl with a bowl, took my hand and walked out, and said as she walked, when you get to the village chief's house later, you have to apologize to others and compensate them for this bowl of rice, you know. Those hands are so warm, even if I really pass by the hut, I probably smell it in my nose. 6. When he arrived at the village chief's house, his family gathered a lot of people, as if they were talking about the winter. The winter here is very cold, and the snow seals the village, so we have to cut enough firewood to store at home before winter. I hate winter the most. I can only pick up some branches, steal a little from the east, and take a little from the west. Then for a long month, only Uncle Lou would occasionally come to see me, and he was afraid that I would freeze to death and starve to death, so there was no other figure. The snow is so white that it makes people feel pitiful to be alone. This year, I don't have to be pitiful, but I won't let you steal. What should we do with our firewood? I was still thinking. My mother pushed me, and she handed me the bowl. What are you going to say to the village chief? According to what she taught at home, I respectfully bowed to the village chief. Uncle Village Chief, I'm sorry, I stole your red dates yesterday. I paid you this bowl of corn, and I swear I will never steal anything again. Everyone in the yard looked at me in surprise. What did the little beggar say? She won't steal anything in the future. Then what does she rely on to live? Rely on workmanship. You can work at the age of 7, to be honest. If she steals again, I won't be happy. Widow, you brought her here, won't she really want to take her as a daughter? Alas, my son is dead. It's okay to take one, but why do you collect a girl's film? I still have to marry in the future. Xiao Luer is my own name, but most people don't call me, they are used to calling me little beggar. My mother took my hand, raised her voice in their buzzing discussion, and said, in the future, this child will have a name, she will take my surname, her name is Yuzhen, Zhen of Treasure. Thank you for taking care of her before and tolerating some of her bad habits. But if she steals again in the future, you just have to tell me, I will break her leg. Someone in the crowd replied, that's for sure, if a child with a mother steals that is called uneducated, we won't be used to it. Ha ha ha, everyone laughed. The village chief took my rice, went into the house and poured it into his own bowl, and then came out, holding a red seal in his hand. He handed it to his mother and said, taking a daughter is also a big deal, don't be too little, it's just a little bit of my heart. The mother refused to accept it, and the village chief's uncle directly made a straight face. This is all normal human relations, what's wrong? Don't you walk around with the villagers in the future? We still live in the village, and of course we have to move around. My mother took it, went home and dismantled it, 10 copper plates, and the same price as whoever gave birth to a child in the village. Just after returning home, many people sent 10 red seals one after another. Haha, now the whole village knows that I have a mother. 7. The first thing my mother did was to mend my pants. She took off her old clothes, patched holes in my buttocks, and made me 2 new clothes. The new one is no longer a thin layer, and it is also mixed with catkins and reeds. Touching those clothes, when my mother fell asleep, I cried. Not only for clothes, but also for me, as if I was really treated as a human being. I vaguely understood that no one had taught me that it was wrong to steal before, because in their eyes, it was already good to let me live, and they didn't care what kind of person I grew up to be, or what kind of truth I needed to understand. They are good people, but they are not as good as their mothers. I'm so smart, my mother is a good thing, I gave myself one. When my mother saw my eyes swollen into walnuts, she smiled rarely, promising, "A few clothes will hide in the quilt and cry, get up quickly, come with me to chop wood today." My mother is not a weak mother, and a widow with her own children cannot be weak. But she lay down for too long, and she was still too tired to chop wood. But in a quarter of an hour, her forehead was covered with sweat, and I was so distressed that I snatched her axe, but I didn't have the strength to cut down the tree. Just when I didn't know what to do, a pair of big hands took my axe, bang a few times, and helped us cut the tree into several sections and tied it with hemp rope. It was a very tall and strong man, almost winter, and he was wearing a thin single coat. I quietly touched his hand, and it was not cold, it was hot. Wow, putting him at home in winter warms the house like firewood. My mother didn't ask for the firewood, so she left them in place and said, "Thank you, little brother, but you can't help the first time, or the second time, let's chop it ourselves." After saying that, he picked up the axe and called me to the next tree. 8. There is no one in the village I don't know, but I don't know that uncle. After going down the mountain, I immediately asked Lu Xiaohua to inquire. Oh yes, since my pants didn't have holes, Lu Xiaohua was finally willing to play with me. She gave me a small corner of the most precious sugar and said, "Since you have a mother, you won't rob my mother anymore, so I'll play with you." It turned out that she once listened to the corner and heard Aunt Tian discussing with Uncle Lu whether to adopt me. She cried miserably, and Aunt Tian gave up. So she didn't like me and felt that I was robbing her mother. Lu Xiaohua pouted and said, "I only have my brothers, and I am the only girl in the family. My mother made the first flour by myself, and the candy my father bought was also tight to me. I don't want to give it to you, isn't it reasonable?" I touched the new clothes on my body, well, very reasonable. I don't want to share what my mother makes with others. Sugar is very expensive, she doesn't give it to other children, since it is given to me, we are best friends. I put the firewood home and ran to ask her, "Xiaohua Xiaohua, do you know that there is a new person in the village? It's very tall and strong." She flashed her big eyes and said, "I know, I've been moving here for half a month, and I'm going to live in the dilapidated house where your mother used to live. He bought it from the village, and he will be a member of our village in the future. I've been busy taking care of my mother these past few months, no wonder I don't know. He chopped wood so hard that I wanted to hire him to chop wood. My mother said you can't steal, just hire someone to do it." I ran to the old house and asked him with 20 cents, "Uncle, can I hire you to chop firewood for my family for 5 days with this money?" This was given to me by my mother from the pile of red envelopes, saying that it was for pressing joy. The wage for planting seedlings for 5 days for landlord Zheng's house is 21, and the firewood should be about the same. I looked up at him expectantly, he was holding the money, with no expression on his face, just nodding and saying, "Okay, I'll go up the mountain tomorrow to cut it for you." 9. In order to surprise my mother, I agreed with the uncle named Lu Qingshan to let him cut it separately from us, and after the chopping, we would send it to my house together. 5 days later, there was a small pile of firewood in the yard, which my mother and I chop. Uncle Qingshan pulled a lot of firewood that could produce dozens of firewood in the yard, more than Uncle Lu and Lu Xiaohua's brothers. My mother and I were dumbfounded when we looked at the firewood, and I jumped to Uncle Chingshan and said happily, "This is enough for us to burn for a winter, Uncle, you are really powerful." My mother frowned and asked me, "Did you ask for it?" I quickly shook my head, No, I spent money and hired him to cut for 5 days, 20 cents. The mother breathed a sigh of relief, hurried back to the house, and took a lot of money, with more than half of the money in our money box, handed it to Uncle Chingshan and said, "I'm sorry, my child is young and still ignorant. Even if these firewood are sold in the town, they can be sold for hundreds of dollars. I'll give you so much first, and the rest will be paid back when spring begins." Uncle Chingshan took out the 20 cents I gave him, and said in a muffled voice, "If you agree to 20 cents, it will be 20 cents. Then put down the last pile of firewood and left without looking back. My mother chased after it all the way to the broken house, but my uncle didn't open the door. She went home and pointed at me, "You, sit down, my mother will teach you how to calculate wages." My mother broke her fingers and told me that landlord Jing took care of my meals for 5 days because he saw that I was pitiful, and gave me 21. Serious rice planting, no one will invite a few years old. A big man like Uncle Chingshan can say less than 200 or 300 when in 5 days. What's more, the pile of firewood he chopped could be sold for 500 or 600 when in winter. The mother sighed, "Now the favor is too much, little rabbit. Since you are the one who messed with you, bring a rag and broom with me tomorrow." 10. My mother took me off early in the morning, so Uncle Chingshan hadn't gone out yet. Then the door of his house won't close. My mother stood me on the threshold, stopped him from closing the door and said, "Either you ask us to help you clean the house, or you can drag the pile of firewood away, you can choose for yourself." Uncle Aoyama seemed to be frightened by his mother, scratched his head, didn't say anything, left the door and left. The dilapidated house is still so broken, and it is a little cleaner than when my mother was there. My mother and I were so tired that we couldn't straighten our backs, so we cleaned up the house like a human being. When I cleaned to the kitchen, there was still a little porridge left in the pot. I picked it up and smelled it, covering my nose in disgust. "Hey, porridge can be burned, Uncle eats really badly." My mother poured the porridge into a bowl and said while washing the pot, "Then you can't waste food, keep it for him, but let's come back tomorrow and bring him breakfast." Uncle Chingshan didn't come back until the evening, and dragged a pile of firewood behind, and he seemed to make money by selling firewood. Seeing his new home, his eyes widened slightly, and he said with a red face, I'll give you a few more bundles of firewood." The mother shook her head, "Brother Chingshan, we don't do this work in vain, cleaning the house once counts as 10 cents. Today I was too tired, and I had to count it as 20 cents. In the future we will come to clean you regularly and pay for the pile of firewood until it is paid, do you think so?" Uncle Chingshan nodded sincerely, and his mother continued, "I think your cooking skills are average, so I might as well cook 2 meals for you, but you have to pay for the corn and vegetables yourself. It's cooked, I'll ask Jenner to bring it to you, it's 10 cents a day, how about it?" Uncle Aoyama still only nodded, he didn't seem to like talking. When I got home, my mother used a branch to stain the stove with black ash, drew 2 long lines on the pillars, and said to me, "Look, one represents 10 cents, and when the painting is completed, our mother's foreign debt will be paid off." 11. We went to clean up for my uncle once in 5 days, plus cooking, and we could earn a yard of firewood in a little over a month, and my mother made a lot of money. Uncle Chingshan is also very powerful, he chops wood in the mountains, it's winter, and he can catch hares and pheasants, and he sends one for to do in 2 or 3 days. Meat, usually the villagers use it to sell it even if they catch it, but he is willing to eat it, no wonder he is so strong. Even if the meat is boiled in white water, it can be fragrant, and my mother's craftsmanship is good. Fry it first, fry out the oil, then put the bean paste I made in and fry, wait for the water to simmer the meat. I am like a puppy, sniffing around the pot constantly. Eating some fragrance is also earned. Seeing that I was greedy, I put some of my own radish cabbage in the pot, and we borrowed a little meat flavor from him, and it was too addictive. But within 2 days, Uncle Aoyama came to my door again. It was time for dinner, and I had just finished delivering him the meat of the day, and he was holding a bowl with a chicken leg, a chicken wing, and a few pieces of meat. When it was brought to me, he poured it into our cabbage and radish, pointed at me and said, "I can't finish eating, the child has a growing body, he must eat meat." My mother immediately wanted to pick it out with chopsticks. These days, how can anyone think there is too much meat? Brother Qingshan, if you want this, I don't dare to cook for you. Uncle Qingshan held the bowl, didn't let his mother pick up the meat back, and said with a stubborn face, "If you don't cook it, I will eat the paste, and when it is cooked, I will also send it over. Anyway, children can't eat meat." My mother didn't believe in evil, and didn't help him cook anymore, but he really sent a mushy piece of meat every 2 days. It's not delicious, and if we don't go back, we still have to pinch our noses to eat. Such a stubborn uncle. My mother had to pick up the rice and burn it, but she drew the line every day short, and only drew 10 cents in 3 days. 12. Just like that, the snow floated down. On the day the snow covered my calves, I sent the last meal of the year, and the rest can only be counted after spring. But the next day, someone knocked on the door, and Uncle Qingshan held a piece of bacon and looked at his mother embarrassedly. "I won't let Xiaojun deliver food, can I come over and eat it myself?" On the white snow outside, there were a series of deep footprints, and the snow that could make me fall was very obedient under his feet, and there was a reassuring feeling. I shook my mother's hand and acted coquettishly. "Mother, let your uncle come, he will do it himself, how ruinous the meat." My mother looked at the two of us stupid people and sighed helplessly. Okay, I know that children can't eat meat, I'll make it for you." This way, Uncle Aoyama stayed in my house longer and longer. Sometimes the chair in the house is broken, and he helps knock on it. Sometimes the snow on the roof was too heavy, and he climbed up to clear it. Anyway, while doing it, my mother was embarrassed to let him spend Chinese New Year's Eve alone, so the 3 of us got together and had a decent New Year together. Aunt Tian also gave Uncle Lu a little wine, and his mother thanked Uncle Qingshan and gave him 2 glasses. But his drinking was a little bad, and he was blushing from drinking, leaning against the pillars in the corridor, listening to the sound of firecrackers outside and smirking. I took the opportunity to ask him, "Uncle Qingshan, why do you have to give me meat? Is it because I'm cute?" He rubbed my hair and smiled gently. "Uncle sees you like he saw himself when he was a child, and Uncle wants to give him meat." It turns out that drunk people really talk a lot, so my uncle leaned on him and babbled on him, explaining him for half his life. He said that he was not called Lu Qingshan, he called No One Wanted It. No one wants to be like Xiao Luer, who lost his home at the age of 3. But no one wants to be worse than Xiao Luer. Xiao Luer is not adopted, but no one bullies Xiao Luer. But no one wants to be a boy, he is sold to a childless family. He might have had 2 good days, but he doesn't remember. After all, the next year, the family gave birth to a boy. The fortune teller said that he brought it, and he had to be raised so that his own could grow up. The fortune teller may be kind, but his adoptive parents have no heart. Feed him the worst and least food, and let him do the heaviest and most tiring work. He was often so hungry that he felt hands in his throat, and wanted to grab something to eat. Especially during the Chinese New Year, every family smells of meat, but he can't even get a piece of meat. He was so greedy that he was begging the Bodhisattva to reward him with a piece of meat in his dreams. Maybe the Bodhisattva heard that he was driven into the mountains to chop wood, and a rabbit ran past him. He chased and chased, but he couldn't catch up, he was too anxious, and a fire would hit him, and the rabbit fell. He didn't have that much time to stay outside, so he roasted the rabbit on the fire and stuffed it into his stomach half-cooked. Thanks to these hare pheasants, he can grow tall and strong. But half-cooked meat can also be deadly. Once he vomited to death, his adoptive parents threw him into the house, and he stayed alone for 3 days before opening his eyes again. From then on, he would only cook mushy food, and he didn't dare to eat it without smelling the smell that must be cooked. Before going to bed, he rubbed my head again. "I heard that there is a wild child in Tali village, so I came. I wanted to raise you. But you are luckier than me, your mother gave you a name, and said that you are a treasure. Mrs. Yu is really a good person." I don't know if my mother cried or not. Anyway, I cried. I suddenly thought, I hope this uncle can eat food that is neither raw nor mushy for the rest of his life, even if he never chops wood for us again. 13. After that day, my mother didn't even draw 10 cents for 3 days. Anyway, Uncle Chingshan gave rice, meat and vegetables, and my mother cooked them. He gradually became less and less wooden, laughing when he should laugh, and shouting Mrs. Yu with a red face when he needed my mother's help. After another year, there was a prodigal in the village who wanted to sell the land, and he also bought 2 acres of land. 2 acres of land cost 10 taels, and he had learned to work as a carpenter, and he could make more money than Lu Xiaohua's father. Men who can make money are popular. One day the mother was washing clothes, and an aunt from the village came in. She smiled and said to her mother, "Sister Yu, I have a great thing here. I want to ask you for a favor." My mother drove me to play with Xiaohua. I pretended to go out, and as soon as I turned my head to eavesdrop on what they said, the aunt grinned and said, "Oh, you don't know how handsome my sister looks, and she is also a good at washing and cooking. The Aoyama brothers are also 23, and it will be too late if they don't ask for their wives. I always eat at your house, and those who know say you are kind, and those who don't know may say some bastard words. You help your sister tell him that the matter is done, and I will give you a big red envelope." My mother sat there and listened quietly, without asking what those bastards were. She wasn't angry, but I was angry, and I wanted to know how nonsense those words were. Seeing that I was so angry, Xiaohua grabbed the grass on the ground and said, "You don't know, 29 I know. When those ants said bad things about your mother, my mother heard it, and my mother asked them to accumulate some virtue. I remember an ant said that Uncle Chingshan is taking advantage of your mother, and he is not stupid. Your mother has given birth to a child. How can there be a shy little daughter-in-law who is good-looking? My mother also gave birth to a child, but I think she is very good-looking, better than the little daughter-in-law of Brother Dania's family." So what they said was not right at all, and they couldn't be angry. I silently thought about the appearance of that little daughter-in-law in my heart, and strongly agreed with her statement, "Our mother is beautiful." When I got angry, I ran home, and there was rabbit meat to eat at night. But the door of the house was closed, and I quietly approached, opened the window, and it was my mother and Uncle Oyama sitting face to face. The mother took a sip of water and said lightly, "Lu Qingshan, someone is here to be a matchmaker for you, a 17-year-old watery girl. Do you want to marry her?" Uncle Aoyama's face burned suddenly, his eyes stared like the cow of the village chief's house, and he stammered, "No, I won't marry." "No, Mary, don't marry that, Mary, Mary, Mary." He married for a long time, and I didn't know what to marry. He saw his mother glancing at him calmly, stood up, kissed him on the mouth, and then sat down calmly and asked him, "What about me, do you want to marry?" My mother probably knows how to do magic, and after she asked, Uncle Oyama couldn't even walk the road, stood up stupidly, and said that you wait for me while slamming into the door. When he knocked on the door and saw me, he blushed and lowered his eyes, as if he didn't dare to look at me at all. I thought to myself, oh, it turns out that this is the shy little daughter-in-law. 14. When my mother saw me, she asked him to come back tomorrow, ate a full meal of rabbit with me for dinner, lay on the bed, covered with the quilt, and then patted me and asked, "Is it okay for Jeanne to sleep alone in the future?" Lu Xiaohua also sleeps alone. She said that children with fathers have to sleep by themselves after the age of 7. I'm 8 years old, definitely not because of my age, but I feel too much like a dream, and I asked uncertainly, "Mother, do I want to have a father? If my mother buys me candy again, it will be a fairy day." My mother nodded and told me that I really did the dream of being the first in the world. As for who my father is, no need for her to say, I am a big child, I can understand. Uncle Oyama often watches his mother even forget to eat meat, he likes his mother more than meat. Uncle Chingshan brought a money bag, old, but there were several pieces of silver poured out of it and many copper plates. He pushed it to his mother and said, "The bride price, if it's not enough, I'll earn it again." The mother counted and accepted it without hesitation. We also paid a dowry. The house he lived in was still thatched, my house was a mud house anyway, and he would move to our house in the future. On the day of the wedding, Aunt Tian took people to hang the whole house red, and Lu Xiaohua, and I helped while peeling the candy and sending it to my mouth. Aunt Tion said that those candies were changed for me, and if I ate them, I would have to call Uncle Qingshan Dad. I ate a lot, so when they worshipped, I screamed very loudly. The food at the banquet was also delicious, 8 meat and 8 vegetarian dishes, the best meal I have ever had in my life. Those ants stuffed the food into their mouths while freeing their mouths to speak. The ant who came to my house to propose marriage had the most ugly face, and muttered softly with a straight face, "Marry a yellow-faced woman, this Lu Qingshan, I'm afraid she has a bad brain." The ant of the village chief's family glared at her, "On people's happy days, if you don't eat, you will go home." Another ant helped, "What's wrong with the yellow-faced woman? The yellow-faced woman has experience. Sister Yu is really blessed, she is 26 years old, and she can still enjoy a strong young man. Look at the pimples on the Qingshan brothers tonight, I'm afraid that their bed will collapse." As soon as she spoke, Aunt Tion covered my ears. I wanted to tell Aunt Tion not to cover it, I could hear it all. And the bed in my parents' house was newly made by my father, so I couldn't sleep. 15. We have parents, mothers, and children, and we are a whole family. There is only one thing that the whole family wants to run, that is, to make money, make money, make money. Having made money, we can build houses out of bricks, eat more meat, and stuff cotton in our clothes. I am a villain, and my parents make money at home. My mother makes money mainly by making some clothes and shoes to sell. Dad is more powerful, he can hit furniture. Dad said that when he grew up to 14 years old, he was very big, and his adoptive parents saw that he could beat the whole family alone, and they were afraid and sent him away. He found a carpenter to learn the craft, beat and scold, and worked as an apprentice for 8 years for free. In the year I completed my studies, I heard that there was a wild child like me in our village, so I changed my surname to Lu, the big surname in our village, and prepared to settle down and raise me. Maybe God knew that he had a good heart, so he asked him to meet my mother and live a life of real home. Dad's furniture stall was set up in the town, and his mother's previous clothes and shoes were also sold in the town. But we haven't been to the specific location. At that time, there was no name and inconvenience. Now that I have a name, my mother will take me to see it. The furniture made by my father is as strong and simple as others. Many people in the neighborhood recognize his things, and they come to buy them when they lack tables and benches at home. But this thing is durable, and ordinary people can't add one in a few years. Last year, my mother gave my father an idea, and asked him to drag a stool to a nearby wealthy village, and only then did he earn more than a dozen taels of silver. This year, no village ran away, and my mother came up with other ideas. In order to marry her, Dad made her a whole set of furniture carved with flowers, birds, pomegranates, and fat dolls. My mother said that she lived so old that she had never seen anyone in the village get married with such a decent bride price. She asked her father, "Why don't you make such furniture and sell it to people who want to get married? With this craft, no one in the town is better than you." Dad scratched his head, but no one in the town buys it. My master tried it as soon as he came back, and the things were placed there, and no one even asked for a price. Everyone still likes to buy uncarved too, and paste a happy word on it for relatives. Dad's master had this craft in order to take care of his elderly parents and return to town from the city. Last year, my parents left and I went to work as a master in a big store in the city. My mother asked again, "How did your master put it, put a whole set?" Dad nodded, "Yes, just like the one I gave you, it took a lot of effort from master, and I wanted to get off to a good start, but there was no one to ask for a price. He was so angry that he would never do these tricks in the town again. I learned from him and did not do it." After my mother asked, she squatted on the stall for another day and went back thoughtfully. The next day, she took me to all the homes in the village where they had children who were about to get married, showing off the furniture at home. Aunt Tion was the first to respond to her, and said with envy and a little regret, "That set is really good. My boss is also about to get married. If he comes to such a set in the new house, it will be too much of a face. It's just too expensive, estimated to cost more than a dozen taels of silver." Yes, yes, if you can't commit it, it's better to live for the young couple. My mother asked tentatively, then if you don't buy the whole set, why don't you spend 1.5 silver to buy a pair of pomegranate flower boxes? Aunt Tion's eyes lit up. That's it, I was going to buy them a box, and the ordinary box would cost a few hundred won, and I would be willing to add some money to ask for a good omen. 16. I don't know how long my mother's brain is. She thought about it and told her father that his master did one thing wrong at that time, that is, to put out a whole set, and it was carved too well. There were not many carpenters in the countryside who could carve, and everyone pursued cheap and practical, and suddenly saw his master's large set, and he didn't dare to look forward at it, let alone ask about the price. But if we just make 1 or 2 carved boxes, descendant buckets, etc., like Aunt Tion's family, who are wealthy in the village, they dare to come up and take a look. Dad listened and was skeptical, but if his mother asked him to do it, he would do it. My mother didn't want him to sell it, so she took me, squatted on the stall, and found the target herself. One day, an aunt with shiny hair and fresh and clean clothes passed by the stall, and she said loudly to the aunt next to her, "My girl is getting married, then I must come to the town to buy something good to press the bottom of the box. After all, my aunt is the only son, and the family has a lot of land, so I can't ask my in-laws to look down on me." She raised her hand high and pointed to her head, "Do you see it? Before I got married, I gave my mother-in-law a copper hairpin. The countrymen have wooden hairpins on their heads, and those with copper are carved, which is very rich." The mother looked at her, and suddenly shouted loudly, "The box of pomegranate flowers, the bucket of the descendants of the mandarin duckbird, the omen is good, and the things are good-looking. Whoever marries 2 daughters will ensure that there will be face in 10 miles and 8 townships." The aunt was really attracted by my mother's voice. She first glanced at the other things on the stall, and found that most of them looked inexpensive, so she approached and took a closer look at the ones beside her mother. At this look, her eyes lit up. Dad made these things and specially chose a kind of tree with a little redwood in the back mountain. Just bring a little. Dad said that the kind of redwood is more expensive than the food we eat a year, and it can't grow in the village. But this red color also looks festive than other woods, especially with the beautiful flowers and birds carved by the father. The aunt squatted in front of the box, touched it again, and couldn't move her eyes. She said tentatively, "Look, that's it, but this pomegranate is good. Tell me, how much is a pair?" My mother stretched out 2 fingers, 2 taels of silver. The aunt's eyes wid. "Eend, you rob money, a pair of boxes costs 800 yuan, and you have to charge so much more if you carve something casually." I was frightened, but my mother said with a smile, "Sister, my husband learned the craft in the city. Look at this pomegranate carving, it looks the same as the tree. You look like you love your daughter, and when you give it off, put this pair of boxes at the front. Who doesn't say that your daughter's mother's family is powerful? My husband's family will definitely not dare to bully her in the future." Hearing her mother's last words, her aunt's eyes flashed, and even her face became gentle. "I spend a lot of money, but I just want her to live well in the future." "But you're too expensive." "I sincerely want it, you should be cheaper." My mother pretended to be embarrassed, walked to her father and muttered a few words, and then came back and said, "That is, it depends on your fate, so let's do it, 1,300 yuan, it can't be less." But I agreed, "This price is for you, and if you introduce relatives and friends in the future, there will be no price." We set 1,500 when at home, which is really less. The aunt also breathed a sigh of relief when she heard the price, and happily paid and left. I asked my mother puzzledly, "Are we going to lower the price?" My mother shook her head, pulled me to sit on the bench, and said to me carefully, "Do you think that aunt looks like the aunt of the village chief's family? She has a little money and loves face, but her heart is also hot, and when she shouts in this village, there are people in the next village who respond to her. Carved things are expensive and few people buy them on the stall. But this aunt helped us shout a few times when her daughter got married, and there must be people who believe in her or don't want to lose to her to buy it." 17. What my mother said was indeed right. There was no movement in the first month, but in the second month, 2 people really came to the stall. One was the aunt's relative, and the other was the aunt's opponent. Relatives bought the same box as the aunt, and the opponent also bought an extra pair of buckets for children and grandchildren. But this time my mother was not cheap, and the price was cut to 1,500 yuan, so she refused to lose a cent. She taught me, Auntie will definitely ask her relatives how much money they bought, knowing that we really gave her 200 yuan. She will always remember this situation, and will help us introduce more people. The connection between people is amazing, and if you sell a good thing to a person, it's like throwing a stone into a river, and it will splash countless splashes. Her 7 aunts and 8 aunts will know, her neighbors will know, and sometimes even on the way to carry the box back, there will be people passing by. Dad's wedding stall is officially open, and unexpected people come to Dad every month to order boxes and buckets, and the richer ones will also order cabinets and beds. There are not many people in the countryside who are willing to spend so much money to get married. But because of caution, many people will travel a long way to the town. My father's reputation was out. Some carpenters also learned from him, but unfortunately they didn't have such good craftsmanship and didn't steal much business. Carving is very labor-intensive. Gradually, in some auspicious months, you have to queue up to find your father's order, and even order in advance to get the goods. In the first year, my parents bought another 5 acres of land. The second year, my mother felt as if she had to keep an account. She wouldn't let me squat on the stall anymore, tied me in a bun, and let me go to school. The private school of enlightenment in the countryside is not very divided into men and women. Anyway, I don't take the scholar exam, I can read the words and I can keep accounts. In the 4th year, my family was already faintly richer than the village chief and Uncle Lu's family, and I wanted to build the first big, sturdy brick house in the village that was not afraid of rain. 18. Some people in the village were envious, some were jealous, and some even asked my mother in front of me, "Sister, you, brother Qingshan has made so much, and you have been married for several years, and you haven't had your own children." My mother didn't even look at me, and said in a normal tone, "I hurt my body when I gave birth to the eldest, and I will only have a child in this life. It's serious to earn her more dowry." The eldest is the brother named Lu Sheng. The villagers first looked at my father with sympathy on his face, and found that he was happy and didn't care at all. Then, when they looked at me, their eyes were full of envy, and the broken-mouthed aunts couldn't help but sigh at me, "Xiaozhener, you are so blessed." They are right, my blessing is really good. In fact, I heard all the discussions between my parents behind my parents' back. Gossip had been circulating privately for a long time before they asked my mother in person. "I have Lu Xiaohua, I know everything." But I didn't dare to ask. I was afraid that my parents would immediately smile and tell me that I was going to have younger siblings. I am a stingy person who remembers everything related to my parents. My mother thought I didn't pay attention. She would always push me away when she went to worship brother Lu Sheng, and wouldn't let me follow. I knew that she was reluctant to tell brother Lu Sheng that she had a new child, and she was afraid that brother Lu Sheng would be angry with her. I think people love their own children more, and if they have their own children, they must be cuter than me. I don't dare to ask, I only dare to secretly observe. In case my mother is pregnant one day, I will work hard to bless her, and I will also work hard to make a box for my heart, put my heart in it, and not let others hurt it. But just as I was guessing uneasily like a mouse, I heard my mother tell my father that she didn't want to have any more children. She leaned on her father's shoulder and said sorry to her father. She said, "Even today, having a child is still more important to me than Jinner. Qingshan, I don't dare to have another child. I'm afraid I will treat Jinner differently. But without Jane, I think I was dead. I don't want to break her heart. If you don't want to, let's leave." Dad glared at her angrily. Can he say anything casually? Seeing that her mother's eyes were red, she coaxed in a low voice, Okay, if you don't give birth, you won't give birth. Madam, I won't lie to you, before I came to the village, I didn't plan to give birth. At that time, I didn't even want to be a relative, so I wanted to raise a wild child. I am a person who doesn't know my parents, and I have no roots to pass on, so it's good that we have Xiaozhen. It's good to have Xiaozhen. I stood outside the door and swore to the moon that I would remember this sentence for the rest of my life. In this life, no matter who it is, I will never leave their side. 19. I can grow up in the village, and there are no particularly bad people in the village. Even the worst Lou Erniu and his parents gave a lot of food that should have been given to their mother back then. It wasn't until my mother married my father that she was no longer a member of the Lou family at all, so I stopped giving it. Everyone muttered this lie in private, but they all comforted her that it was good to have me. But my mother said that if we still want to live in the village, we have to seek some benefits for the village and don't make others too jealous. I don't want to leave the village, and neither do my parents. We discussed it and decided to let my father take in a few apprentices. Just when my mother and I were ranking the people in the village according to their character, a carriage entered the village. It was a very expensive carriage that looked very expensive, and the sister who came down from above had white and tender skin that we country girls couldn't have, and even the clothes she wore were good materials that we had never seen. She looked at me as if looking at me, as if judgment and Ying said, "Is it miss you? My mother wants to see you, please come with me." She bit the word "my mother" very hard, and was not very friendly. My mother protected me behind me, frowned and said, "My child is still young. What do you have to tell us adults? What are you looking for my daughter for?" She didn't like me, but she looked at my mother's eyes with admiration, and bowed and said, "Then please ask Mr. and Mrs. Sien to get on the bus with me. It is related to Miss Yu's life experience," we said in the car. My father's big guy, with him, we are not afraid of where we go. But after getting in the car, the words that came out of the mouth of the sister named Zhao Wushu still shocked me. She said that my mother asked her to come, not the mother sitting next to me, but the mother who gave birth to me. 20. About my biological parents, I often thought about it before I was 7 years old, but after I was 7 years old, I had a mother who could sleep with me, so I didn't want to. I listened to their stories and I feel that they are related to me, but not so relevant. That's not a good story, it's too far away from us who have to earn food every day when we open our eyes. Sister Zhao said, "My father is powerful but has no conscience. He took a fancy to my mother, so he forcibly married her whether my mother wanted to or not. But my mother is a woman who never bows her head, and when she can't beat her, she endures silently, and when she finds an opportunity, she unites with others to completely beat my father to the ground." At that time, I was in her belly for 7 months, and everyone thought she would give in for me, but she was willing to get pregnant just to deceive trust and get rid of evil spirits forever. If the month was smaller, she would have beaten me, but even if she couldn't beat me, she wouldn't want me. She left me to an old servant of my father, the old uncle buried in the back mountain. She was not young when she was pregnant with me, and she overconsumed her mind during pregnancy, leaving her body with old diseases. Sister Zhao is the daughter chosen by my mother, and when she was adopted, she was also 7 years old. My mother named her unrestrainedly, which shows how much freedom-loving she was. My heart is sour for such a woman. My mother held my hand, gently hugged me into her arms, patted me on the back and said, "We jeunes are not uncomfortable, this is not our jeunes' fault." Well, not my fault and not hers. The wrongest one, I don't even need to know the name. 21. That person is very temperamental, even if she is lying in a hospital bed, she can't hide her elegance. She saw that I wasn't too excited, so she just glanced at me lightly and said softly, "I brought you into the world in order to get out, and I haven't raised you all these years. I'm leaving, thinking about hating and resenting, you must have a face in your heart. Now that we have seen it, it is also a bad fate between us. You have a good pair of parents, the rest of your life, live well." Sister Zhao looked at me nervously, she was afraid that I would say bad words. I didn't, I just stood at the head of that person's bed, treated her as an elder, and said softly, "Auntie, I don't blame you, I have meat and vegetables every day, and I have a clean big house at home, and I live very well. You have to work hard, if you are gone, Sister Zhao will have no mother." She still cried that day, not for me, but for her daughter Zhao Wushu. I didn't leave, Sister Zhao left me to see her for the last time. We all hoped that the later this side would be better, but half a month later, the white flag was still hung in the house. The morning hall is guarded by Sister Zhao, and my mother, and I just help her take care of some chores. Before returning home, Sister Zhao came to see me, and her soul seemed to have been drained away, and she said to me emptily, "I have hated you and feared you. I'm afraid that I have been with my mother for more than 10 years, and in the end, the daughter in her heart is you. Yuzhen, I used to envy you, you have your mother's blood in your body. But now I don't envy anymore, I am her daughter. My mother said that you can take away what is in her property, and count it as her compensation to you. Choose the same, leave after choosing, you will have nothing to do with her in the future." She spread a lot of things in front of me, and I recognized the words, knowing that they were all kinds of house deeds and title deeds, each of which could make me lie still for the rest of my life. But when I looked at it, I still looked at her and said, "Then I'll choose you. I want a sister, you are so rich, you have to buy me candy to eat during the holidays in the future." We orphans understand best that in this world, what we fear most is not poverty, but empty homes with no one. Before she is willing to start a family, I will barely be her family first. 22. Zhao Wushu is very busy, and Zhao Wushu is also very fierce. She has a lot of things to do, and there is a big business to manage, but she thinks I don't learn anything, so she still comes to the village to teach me all kinds of skills from time to time. The people in our village like her very much, because of her fleet. Every family in the village now has my father's apprentices. She helped her parents draw up a contract, her father taught apprentices, and she didn't need to work as an apprentice for 8 years, as long as they gave 10% of their income in the first 5 years of their career. Dad doesn't have to set up his own stall now, and he is very rich when he teaches his disciples at home. The people in our village don't go to the city, we just follow those boats, run to small towns and countryside, and do a little small business that the big shops in the city can't take care of. Now everyone is gearing up to save money to build a big house, don't you just like her? With money, even the snow in winter is no longer scary, and everyone picks up a shovel and shovels the snow on the road clean. Because the distant family members have been busy for a year, they have to go home unimpeded. I'm different from my parents, we don't wait for anyone, we drive away directly. The Zhao mansion is too big, Zhao Wushu is alone, he can't even hang the lantern, he has to help her. When I was 15 years old, there was another person who was willing to help Zhao Wushu hang lanterns, thin and tall, with a little white face. My mother happily tamped me, "Hey, you see that your sister has found a good husband, with fine skin and tender flesh, and he is quite handsome." My father, who was not too white or tender, stood aside and hummed, and I also accompanied him and hummed, "Humph, just him. Just hang a lantern." But Zhao Wushu would laugh when he looked at him, so reluctantly call him brother-in-law. I knew that she was going to have a family, and the road I was with her was over. But it doesn't matter, I have the cutest parents in the world, I will find someone to give birth to a bunch of little dolls and accompany them until they are old.